Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. Rowe. We're looking in Geometry Part B. This is Lesson 5. This is that barnyard problem. We're going to take a look at how you break this down into its parts, how to figure out the answer to each part, and then to find that final total at the end. So let's take a look at the situation. So what you're given is you're given that a goat is tied to the corner of a barn. This is the problem right here. It says the goat's tied to the corner of a rectangular barn. And then it says that the barn is 20 by 20, so it's really a square barn. And what you want to know what the maximum grazing area is. So, you got to find the area of each region and then kind of estimate here. So, first question is how much of the 50-foot circle can he walk? So let's take a look. So if we look at that section, wait a minute, that's the wrong one. This section, we're going to take a look at what this part of the circle is. So if you look at this looks like it's all but one section of the circle. So now remember, a circle is 360 degrees. So if you got all but one section, each section is 90 degrees. So this would be 270 degrees of the circle. So we need to find the area of this sector. So the area of a sector, here's our formula for area of a sector, is pi times the radius squared times the central angle, or the degrees, divided by 360. Well, in the problem that you're given, the radius is 50. We're going to change the numbers up just a little bit so we're not doing the same exact problem. We're going to make this a 30 by 30 barn with a 70-foot rope. So here's what we got here. We've got pi times the radius, which is 70 for this section, times the angle, which is 270 over 360. Now, I say 270 over 360, but we can think about this as 3/4 of the circle. We're taking away 1/4. So this is really, and that's squared, this is really pi times 70 squared times 3/4. So we're going to work this out. Here's my calculator. Let's clear all that. We've got 70 squared times 3/4. And so that's going to be 3,675 times pi, which is going to be approximately, we'll need this number later on. And we're going to multiply by 3.14. And that's going to give us about 11,539.5. So that's the first section. You got the radius as it's given. And then you're figuring out that first section of the circle. Okay? So let's take a look at the next section. So what happens when he starts to wrap around the barn? All right, so the goat has walked to here. Well, he's not going to be able to go into the barn, and so he's wrapping around the barn this way. Or if he comes to this side, if he walks around this way, he's going to wrap around this way. So now this changes the information a little bit. We've got 30 feet right here. Now the rope is 70 total. So what does that leave for the radius of this section? Well, that would be 70 minus 30, which equals 40. So that means the radius of each of these sectors is 40 feet. Now your next question is, what is the area he can walk on either side of the barn after he wraps around the barn? That's basically what it says. So we need to figure out each one of these sectors. So the sectors are going to be the same, but I'm going to show you how to figure out one of them. So area, again, pi r squared times the angle divided by 360 Let's kind of take a look at this and see if we can figure out what kind of section of the circle this is. If we take a look, that's basically 1/4 of a circle, right? So 1/4 is 90 degrees. That's going to be 90 over 360. And we can go ahead and we can put in the radius. We know what the radius is now. We just figured that out. Radius is 40 squared. So let me just erase this part a little bit. That's going to be pi times 40 squared times 90 over 360. 40 squared is 1600. So this will be pi times 1600 times 90 over 360 is 1/4 of the circle. So what's 1/4 of 1600? It's 400, so that's 400 pi. And that's going to be approximately, remember these are all approximations once you get here, times 3.14. That's 1,256 feet squared. So that's the second section. And then if you notice, let's go back to the original picture here. Here's this little section here where all where these two little circles, they overlap. So there's an overlap area here that we have to kind of subtract out to make sure we don't include overlap in our area total. So how do we do that? So that is this last little section right here. So what happens when the goat, he's walked here, and we know that's 40, and then he walks here, and the rope gets here, and it wraps. So we've got a new radius for this section of the circle. So what's left? Well, if this section is 30 feet, and this radius is 40 feet, so 40 minus 30 is 10. So that means this new radius is 10 feet. So we're going to follow the same procedure that we did in our other two problems. We're going to find the area of that sector. It's pi r squared times the central angle divided by 360. Okay, so what's the radius? Well, we just figured the radius is now 10 because that's all the rope that's left. So 10 squared. And what's the central angle here? If we look at the circle, this kind of looks like, if we go back, it kind of looks similar to this one. So that looks like it's going to be 270 degrees, or 3/4 of the circle again. That's going to be 270 over 360. So this will be pi times 100 times 3/4. You can work this out, but 3/4 times 100 is going to be 75 pi. And that's going to be approximately 230 something, 235.5. All right, that's an approximation. So that's each separate section. So then you're finally asked, well, what is the total grazing area that this goat can graze if he can walk all the way around the barn like that? So here's what we got. We got this first section at 1,000 or 11,539.5. We've got this second section, and we can look right here. It's 1,256. And then we've got our last section, which we just figured out was 235.5. So how do we figure out the total grazing area? Well, we're going to add the two big sections. And then that overlap, that's extra. That's already been added into this section right here on either side. We got two of those sections, if you recall. And then we've got the section that we're going to subtract out, which is the overlap, which is 235.5. All right, so we're going to get our calculator out. We're going to combine all those together. So 11,539.5. We're going to add 1,256 twice. Then we're going to subtract 235.5. And that's going to give us a total grazing area of 13,816. All right, so I hope this helps you with the barnyard problem. If you're still struggling with that problem and you need some additional help, please let me know in a teacher message, or better yet, make an appointment for a help session so I can walk you through it.